Welcome, everybody, to episode 10 of the Ringside Rewind podcast. I'm your co host, Andre, aka Tatted Islander, alongside with my other co host, Stunner Matt, aka Matt. And Matt, go ahead and say hello to the followers of our podcast.
What's up, guys? What's up, pro wrestling world? Welcome back to episode 10 of the Ringside Rewind. Wow, 10 episodes in. Andre, it's great to be here tonight with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 10 straight weeks of doing this podcast. And man, we have grown a lot since we debuted. And we have a lot to talk about. We are fresh off of SmackDown. And man, oh man, I can't wait to get to what just happened tonight. But first and foremost, let's start at the very beginning of the week, like we always do in chronological order. Um, we've got a new IC champ. We've got we had a really good opening segment last Monday. What a way to kick off the Raw, fresh off of Elimination Chamber with the return of Seth Rollins. And then on top of that, too, we had that killer segment between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And some of the comments that was being thrown at each other, especially the one that was thrown by CM Punk to Roman Reigns, talking about his dad. Boy, oh boy, we have a lot to talk about. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and start with some of the smaller items first that happened on Monday Night Raw. And Matt, I want to talk about Penta being the new IC champ. We had him obviously defeat Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio, alongside with JD and Finn, were featured in a backstage segment with Danhausen, who made his Raw backstage debut. Obviously, we saw him debut at Elimination Chamber. Didn't go really well. But I would say he redeemed himself with that segment and made it very memorable, considering he cursed Dominic and Dominic went ahead and lost that title, alongside obviously with some outside I wouldn't say interference, but obviously Finn stopping JD from giving him the bell hammer to Dominic Mysterio. And so, Matt, I'm glad personally to see Penta win his first WWE championship. What were your thoughts on the match, and what do you see now with the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio, specifically speaking Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, and also JD?
Well, Andre, you know what? It's been a year since Penta has debuted for the WWE. He came in February last year, February 2025, and he won his first singles titles match as a contender here last week on Raw. And I thought it was funny with the mixture of Danhausen. I liked how Adam Pearce introduced Danhausen to the Judgment Day, and he had a list of demands and what he wanted. And I just thought it was a funny segment. You know, you're right. Danhausen got booed really bad in Chicago at Elimination Chamber. And I said it last week. I don't think people knew who he was. We knew of him. We didn't know of his character. WWE fans really probably didn't know much about him. Just like us, we knew of him, but we didn't know a lot about him. You know, I don't know a lot about his in-ring skills, just what I've seen on the internet. But I thought it was funny that he cursed him, and then Dominic lost the title, right? And then you're right. We've been talking about it for a while now. The Judgment Day collapsing. We're seeing a different side of Finn Balor. We're seeing, I don't know if it's a babyface Finn or a Finn that just wants to do it on his own. And Dominic said for the last week and a half, I'm going to go out there and do it on my own. But you guys are going to be there, right? You're going to be there to help. You're going to be there, right? For support. Only for support. Not to get involved. Just support me. Well, you know, of course, he's Dirty Dom. He wanted the ring bell hammer. JD went to give it to him. Finn stopped it. Penta took him out. Penta nailed the Mexican Destroyer, got the 3 count. And it was great. You know, congratulations and new Intercontinental Champion Penta. So I'm really excited to see what he does going into WrestleMania. I don't think Dom's going to go back for the IC title. I think it's going to be more of the Judgment Day and Dominic and that collapsing of the Judgment Day, and then possibly Finn versus Dom at WrestleMania. And that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Finn versus Dom. I mean, it's going to be really interesting, though, to see how it also plays out with JD and where his loyalty lies, whether it's with Dominic or obviously Finn. You know, Finn and him obviously won the World Tag Team titles together, had a pretty good reign, and, you know, made it obviously very legitimate, that reign, when they had it. And so I think that with the IC title, I'm kind of glad that Dom dropped it to Penta because obviously one of their first interactions when Penta was in the WWE when he first came, obviously there was a beef going on between them, and so for it to kind of come full circle and Penta winning the IC title, I don't think that the IC title was needed for the feud that we're probably going to see now with Finn and Dom. It's going to be more so the actual storyline of the Judgment Day and what Finn is really about now. And that's going to be, I think, what the focus is going to be moving forward. And so, come Monday, it's going to be very interesting to see where we're going to be at with the Judgment Day with Finn, and on top of that too, even you can include Liv, you can include Raquel, you can also include Roxanne. You know what? How are they going to feel now that Finn? They're going to probably see Finn as the ultimate reason why Dominic Mysterio lost his IC championship, and
And you,
I'm gonna get to you in a second, but I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm glad he kind of dropped it because since he won it back in San Diego against John Cena, obviously he was injured. I know he had done some appearances over at AAA, but I'm glad now we kind of get a refresh now to see what Pent has to offer now as the IC champion, and I'm looking forward to it, man. That IC championship is that workhorse title, and I
exactly.
think wherever Dominic ends up, I think now it's going to be more so main event things in line for him. So I'm really glad to see that. I think this is a win for both ends.
And you know what's funny? You talk about the IC title, there'll be in the workhorse title, that mid card championship. Same thing with the US title that came from WCW. But the Intercontinental title, it's been held by almost every single great Hall of Famer. From the first Intercontinental title holder, the great Hall of Famer Pat Patterson, who was right hand man to Vince McMahon all through the years, to Stone Cold, to Triple H, to Shawn Michaels, to it's so many you could name Hall of Famers, Undertaker, John Cena. Everybody has held the IC title. So I'm really looking forward for Penta to defend it and be the new IC champion. I want to say one last thing about the Judgment Day, though, and Danhausen. Danhausen to make his WWE debut in the ring, I would like to see it against Dom or JD. And for the first time, I don't think that has to be at WrestleMania. This could be on a Raw. And I know we saw Danhausen tonight on SmackDown, and we'll talk about that later. But for him to make his in-ring Raw debut against JD McDonough or against Dominic Mysterio would be really interesting to see. And I think it would be something the fans would want to see.
You make an interesting point. I didn't even think about that, honestly. Yeah, hopefully we see Danhausen in the ring here very soon. Obviously, he's killing it with the backstage
Yeah.
segments, making a name for himself there. I think, like I said, going back to his debut on Elimination Chamber, it wasn't exactly the best, to say the least. A lot of people were very unhappy with it. A lot of people thought that this could have been done a lot differently. I agree. I think the proper way to have introduced him into the company was maybe a backstage segment, and he made it up very quick. He's a very witty guy. I enjoy seeing him backstage now. I think his interactions with the talent is quite entertaining to say the least. And so I'm looking forward to seeing more of Danhausen as we get more into the shows that we have upcoming and whatnot. And I'm going to be in Phoenix, obviously, for the SmackDown. And so hopefully he makes maybe an appearance on the screen, or if I'm lucky, on the stage. So we'll see about that. The next thing that I would like to talk about before we get to the real nitty gritty stuff with the CM Punk and Roman Reigns segment is obviously the opening segment with Paul Heyman alongside Logan Paul and Austin Theory. And I gotta say, I loved it. I think this Raw was a 10 out of 10 from
Wow.
start to finish. And I have a lot of questions to ask you, but let me just go ahead and describe the segment. Obviously, we saw Seth Rollins. Well, let me not get ahead of myself. We saw the masked men come up and distract the Vision. Obviously, strayed, distracted Austin Theory distracted Logan Paul. They went after those masked men, and then it just left Paul Heyman in the ring. One and only Paul Heyman. And as he was looking onward towards the stage, we see Seth Rollins creep up from behind, and the same city that he betrayed Roman Reigns over 10 years ago smashes a chair behind Paul Heyman's back. And what does he do to finish him off? He curb stomps him. And then we see Seth Rollins yell in anger and frustration with the betrayal of Paul Heyman that happened a few months back. And obviously, we had Braun Breaker involved in that as well, and Bronson Reed. And unfortunately, they are out. But Matt, what an opening segment to kick off Monday Night Raw, fresh out of Elimination Chamber. Seth Rollins obviously coming back during the Elimination Chamber event and then coming back on Monday Night Raw. And might I also add, we also heard from Adam Pearce that Seth Rollins is still not medically cleared, which makes me believe that, okay, this was a swerve. Obviously, WWE needed to do something because of the fact that Bronson Reed was supposed to be in that Elimination Chamber. And I believe that Braun Breaker was originally the person that was supposed to be that Elimination Chamber. And then for Seth to take out to set up that Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker match at WrestleMania 42. So, Matt, thoughts on that segment, and where do we also go from here?
I've said it a lot, and I always say this, a lot to digest, which what you just said, brother. But if you don't think that we are on the road to WrestleMania right now, after seeing that, it reminded me of Attitude Era soap opera drama. I absolutely 100,000% agree with you. Loved it. That segment alone, 10 out of 10. I was at the edge of my seat watching Raw. The long-term storytelling of hitting him in the chair in Indianapolis, Indiana, the same town that he betrayed the Shield in 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years ago, when he hit Roman Reigns in the back, when he turned his back on Dean Ambrose. And if you remember, that was Triple H and Randy Orton that was coming down to the ring in that segment and said, "What are you talking about? There's always a plan B." Boom. And he took out Roman. And then last year, WrestleMania 41, the chair shot that Paul Heyman handed Seth, the same chair, the same exact shot to the back. Oh, man, I loved it. I said weeks ago on our show, and I'll continue to say it, this is the fireworks of Monday Night Raw. And those fireworks went out with Bronson and Braun Breaker going out. But now I think it's turned. It really turned. The masked men scared off the Vision, and Seth Rollins just appeared, the architect, the visionary, the revolutionary, burn it down Seth Rollins. And he looked pissed. He looked pissed. He was mad, stomping Paul Heyman. Then we get Paul Heyman loaded into the ambulance, and we have a turn again with LA Knight driving the ambulance. I'll take it from here, boys. Yeah. I mean, it was great. It was a first-class movie. I loved it. I cannot wait till Raw coming here live in Seattle, Washington in 2 days to see how they do this, to see how they shape this. But this is going to be good, and this is getting good, and this is definitely the drama I want going into Las Vegas.
Honestly, I am so glad that that was the way to kick off Elimination Chamber, and then to follow it up with that Monday Night Raw. And like we said before, right, we needed Elimination Chamber to be that turning point as we are 6 weeks out, heading into 5 weeks now, heading into Vegas. Sir. And so now we've got a lot of stuff to obviously unpack. We got that storyline going on. We've got the CM Punk stuff going on. And then obviously we'll get to the SmackDown stuff that just happened. And so with that being said, right, Matt, we know that Seth Rollins still injured. What do we do with him? What do we do with LA Knight? Because here's my vision, right? No pun intended. Okay. We obviously saw the match of Jimmy Uso versus Austin Theory. Logan gets involved. Jay comes to the rescue to the aid of his brother, hits them with a crutch. They get out of the ring. And it seems like we're setting up for potentially a world tag team title match between the Usos and the Vision, right? Now, the big question right now for a lot of people is, okay, where do you fit LA Knight? Does LA Knight be the answer to the open challenge of Brock Lesnar? I don't think so. No. Okay. That makes no sense. LA Knight's been kind of the head honcho, I should say, in hunting down the Vision, obviously, right? I think as much as I would like to see LA Knight in a match, I think there's something that's he's going to get involved in with both the Usos and the Vision. And I think that is if we do see a world title match, world tag team title match between the two factions, I think maybe we see LA Knight as the special guest referee
Oh
for
wow,
that
okay.
match. And like you know, like I said, I would love to see LA Knight in a match, but we obviously need it to make sense, right? And what do you do? I mean, I can see it happening where he's just thrown into special guest referee. He does, you know, obviously he tries to call it down the middle, but clearly, you know, with how much the division has screwed him over, you know, maybe he hits a couple moves and maybe the Usos retain as world tag team champions at WrestleMania. If that is the case, and if that's the match that is set up, Matt, let me ask you this question first, because I'm very curious on what your thoughts are. Okay. Obviously, we saw Seth come and do his thing, right? Obviously, Bronson Reed is out. Braun Breaker is out. It's looking very unlikely that they're going to come back in time for WrestleMania, but we never know. We still got plenty of time left before we see possibly them coming back. Where do you think Seth lands in all of this? Paul Heyman's out as well. So what do we do?
Well, to answer your question, I sure hope Paul Heyman is not out. And I know every time somebody attacks the Oracle, it's maybe 2-3 weeks off TV and then he comes back. I sure hope Paul Heyman is not out. I hope Paul Heyman will be there in Seattle on Monday. And I hope we hear, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's just what I hope hope happens. Okay. But to answer your question about Seth Rollins, and I'm always going to have this on the back of my mind, is Seth really hurt? I will always think that about Seth freaking Rollins. Is Seth really hurt? I will always think that. No matter what anybody says, no matter what people tweet out, no matter what they say on the internet, no matter what Adam Pearce says, no matter what Triple H says, I am always going to keep that in the back of my mind. And I think all of us as pro wrestling fans should always keep in the back of our mind, is Seth freaking Rollins really hurt? He has duped us 2 times. He has fooled us that many times with injuries. And both times, I think everybody was hook, line, and sinker. He's out. He's hurt. Is he really out? Is he really hurt? How much can he go? So that's how I'm going to say with Seth Rollins. And I'm just going to sit back and be a fan. And I've said it a million times and I'll continue to say it. The fireworks on Raw, besides what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes with the tribal chief and the best in the world, the fireworks have been that Vision storyline. And yes, the fire went out after Braun and Bronson got hurt and we thought it was dead. And then we burned it down and he came back. That story just blew up again. And I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm just going to sit back and be a fan and I'm going to let things play out. And wherever LA Knight ends up in that story, whatever happens with the Usos and the Vision with tag titles, or if we go down that route, whatever. But with Seth Rollins, and here's the thing, my last comment about this, Paul Heyman always has a plan B too. Paul Heyman always has something up his sleeve. From the days of ECW to the days of being in the Invasion and bringing ECW and WCW together to take out Vince, Paul Heyman always has a plan B. Just like Triple H said, there's always a plan B. So I'm just going to sit back and be a fan, and I'm excited for it, and I can't wait for Seattle for Monday Night Raw.
And I cannot wait either. And I'm very interested to see where this ends up. So let's move on to the next one. Last but not least, Roman Reigns and CM Punk, right? What a segment that was, first and foremost. This was cinema. You put 2 of the best wrestlers on screen and jabbing at each other vocally on the mic. Come on now. Like I was looking forward to that. I'm going like this the whole entire time. I'm like, no, he did not, you know? And I would argue even it was better than the first one, the first initial meeting. And so I'm like, yo, if this ramps up and we go like this every single time that Roman's schedule appeared to be on Monday Night Raw, it is going to be one hell of a road to Vegas. That's
Oh,
for
yes,
sure.
sir.
So, obviously, segment 10 out of 10. Loved it. Love the fact that we got to see really Punk go at Roman,
Oh,
especially with that ending comment. Um, Matt, let me get your thoughts on this.
my friend, I have a lot to say. So just got to bear with me. I 100% agree with you, Andre. Loved it. 10 out of 10. I'll go 11 out of 10. Must see television. One of those shows that you watch and you stream on Netflix and then you go, oh, I got to watch the next episode. Great. Awesome. Two of the best on the mic going back and forth, just killing each other. And think of this. This is a wrestling show with wrestling. It should be action packed in the ring. This ended the show with no physical contact. And I was at the barber shop earlier this week getting my haircut. And my barbers who watch wrestling and don't follow it as big, but they watch it, everybody knew about this. Everybody said, hey, what was going on with Punk and Roman? It was must-see television. The comment about, I'm going to bury you next to your father. Wow. I mean, that you could tell it took the air out of the tribal chief. I have something that's been brewing in my head, and I think we're going to go down a direction that is going to be a shock. And I want to share it with our audience. I want to share it with you right now, my brother. For the last couple weeks, CM Punk has been making jabs at Roman's family. He said on the post show after Elimination Chamber, he made a comment saying, "You're stupid, family." Now he made a comment about Roman's dad. "I'm going to bury you next to your father." Roman said in the ring, "I don't appreciate you hanging out with my cousins in the back playing cards." Then Punk made a comment about talking stupid about his cousins, talking about the Usos there. Punk keeps saying this stuff. I think it's going to resurrect the final boss. And everybody's looking, and I haven't said that to anybody. I've been keeping that in me. The final boss gets mad. If you remember, I'm going to go back a few years. When Cody won the Rumble and stepped aside and let The Rock take the main event of WrestleMania 40, and we were finally going to get Rock and Roman. Who sits at the head of the table? Who's the real tribal chief? Who gets to run this family, right? Cody stepped aside. Rock stepped up. Cody and The Rock hugged. Now we get to Vegas, and they have the press conference for WrestleMania 40. And The Rock's out there showing the tree of the Samoan dynasty. Cody comes out. Cody's mad. He's upset. He tells Roman, if your grandfather was here, if his grandfather, talking about the High Chief Peter Malvier, was here, they would be ashamed of you. Rock slapped Cody across the face. Rock turned into the final boss character. Walking out of the press conference, Triple H was getting interviewed by Jackie Redmond. And The Rock said, take care of it. Either you take care of it or I'm going to take care of it. Let him talk about our F family again. Now we got the final boss. And the story turned because everybody was like, hashtag, we want Cody. We want Cody. Finish his story, Cody. Cody crybabies. But The Rock gets pissed when people talk about his family. I think this is setting up for final boss. And I think The Rock the final boss character does not have to show up on Raw. He does not have to go to SmackDown. The Rock could cut a 2-minute promo on Instagram, and that thing is going to go viral and be shared on everybody's social media platform. And all he has to do is talk about, what did you say about my family? Okay. The Rock doesn't have to physically get involved at WrestleMania. Just the ambiance and the presence of him being there, that's going to be must-see television. Then I am going to make a prediction right now on March 6th. I believe Roman Reigns defeats CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Champion with the ambiance and the presence of The Rock there. Then I think The Rock bottoms Roman, and we set up for main event of WrestleMania 43 in Saudi. We finally get what I think everybody's been wanting. Roman Rock. And we all know Rock could probably physically still go. He can't be the Rock of the 2000s, but he could physically probably still do this. And the reason I'm saying this now is because 10, 11, 12 years ago, I can't remember off the top of my head, when we had Cena Rock and we all wanted that, we all begged for that. It happened on the Monday night after WrestleMania. The Rock came down and said, let's do this, but we'll do it next year at WrestleMania. And we had a whole main event build to WrestleMania for Cena Rock. And I could see that happening this year. We get a whole main event build of Rock Roman for Saudi. And I think that's what it's leading up to. And I think Punk might have bit off more than he could chew. And I'm a CM Punk fan, true and true. But I think you're poking the bear, and I think the bear is the final boss.
What? What a prediction. What a statement. That is honestly, look, what did I say a couple episodes ago? I said, if you want to really intensify any storyline, put in the final boss, put in The Rock. And what better way to possibly put him in, right? You have him involved in that storyline. And mind you, all right, there's also history with CM Punk and The Rock back in 2012 and 2013 when Punk was the reigning WWE champion for 434 days, right?
Yep.
So there's already history there, right? And mind you, he was also calling The Rock a bald fraud as well, too. So
that's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
So
and you know, you are 100% right. And you said that a few weeks ago here on our show. Put in The Rock. And I love the fact that you said that. Now, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, and I haven't really shared it. I wanted to share it with our audience, and I wanted to share it with you, brother. But it's been dwelling in my mind, and I want to say I don't think a lot of people are thinking this way. And Triple H, Nick Khan, Dwayne Johnson, all of these head guys, they like to drop little breadcrumbs, and then, like you said, circle back to it. And here's the thing: when Punk won the title, I'm a fighting champion. I want to be a fighting champion. He named The Rock. He named John Cena in that promo. And what did he say? I'll wrestle those guys because that's money. It's money. I'm a fighting champion, and I'll take on those guys because money is attached to John Cena. Money is attached to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. The Rock doesn't physically have to get involved in anything. Remember? Just telling the story like that. And the breadcrumbs are getting dropped. And I want our audience and I want people to see, just look at the breadcrumbs and then follow the history. Long-term storytelling is what Vince used to do as well. Okay? Stone Cold would lose the title at SummerSlam, and Vince would make his life a living hell all the way to WrestleMania. All the way to WrestleMania. And that's what Triple H does too. He does long-term storytelling. And all you have to do is put in a little vignette of all these stuff that Punk's been saying. And then when you see it and play it back, you'll go, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, they did say that. Oh, yeah, that did happen. And that's what I think it's leading up to. And I sure hope it's leading up to that. And then Roman's going into WrestleMania thinking he's got his cousin by his side, when in reality, The Rock, after the match, boom, rock bottom, and then points at WrestleMania. And then the following night on Raw, The Rock shows up in Vegas and just says, let's do it. Let's do it. But we'll do it next year in Saudi. And that's how Raw goes off the air the night after WrestleMania or something like that. And then we don't see The Rock for another 6-7 months. And it's still cool. It's long-term storytelling at its best. And we finally get to see who sits at the head of the table.
Yeah, I think it's a very good likelihood. We probably see Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi crowd, as we were speaking to Tantalizing Tony, obviously the Saudi crowd is very pro-Roman, very pro-Rock, very pro-nostalgia in general. And obviously we know the Saudis got money and they're going to pay damn well good money to make sure that they get the people that they want to see. And so who is WWE to say no? I mean, obviously we know that they are very greedy at the moment with the ticket prices that they're selling WrestleMania 42 for, and even some of the regular shows. So yeah, we'll see, man. And I'm honestly looking forward to seeing what we have in store next time Roman makes an appearance. I have not a prediction, but a spoiler that there is a very good likelihood that Roman then mentions Larry which is obviously CM Punk's dog that
That's gonna
unfortunately
cut.
passed away. And so you mentioned his dad that passed away. Well, I think he's going to mention your dog that passed away as well. So it's going to get real personal here as we heat up and get closer to WrestleMania 42. And I can't wait to see what happens with that. And yeah, any final thoughts on this specific topic, Matt?
The only last thing I could say is, are you seeing how I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together? And I want our audience to see, just to think that the long-term storytelling, we don't have to get the answer on Raw. We don't have to even get it at WrestleMania. It's the long-term storytelling that hooks you, that wants you to come back. And I'll say it again. It reminds me of the Attitude Era, of Vince, the soap opera. They used to call it, this is a soap opera. Yes, because you come back to it. You tell the story, then you walk away and you relive it 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks later. But the breadcrumbs are getting dropped. CM Punk keeps talking about his family. He even called the Usos stupid, even though they're friends. But that's the stuff that The Rock responds to. And like I said, Rock does not have to show up Monday night. He doesn't have to be on Friday night. In fact, we know his schedule will never allow that anymore. But he could take a 2-minute video on Instagram at the gym like he did with Cody during WrestleMania 40 buildup, which I think there's nobody that would argue that's the best WrestleMania buildup compared to Stone Cold and The Rock WrestleMania 17 build was WrestleMania 40. And I'm starting to get the same vibes now with this. Really, I am. I'm starting to really think, when I saw Roman and Punk in the ring on Monday, bro, I saw Stone Cold Rock WrestleMania 17. And I was getting the goosebumps too. Like, this is good. This is awesome. Who do I cheer for? I love both these guys. So I'm just looking forward to it. I hope we see something on Instagram with the Great One. And man, WrestleMania is right around the corner, and I'm ready.
Definitely cannot wait, and definitely cannot wait to see what happens next on Raw here in a couple of days. So can't wait for that. Let's go ahead and move on over to SmackDown. Like I said, we're filming this here on a Friday. We're fresh off of SmackDown. Um, like I said, let's knock out some of the smaller stuff first, and then obviously we'll talk about the big one here at the very end. But first and foremost, I do want to talk about real quick R-Truth and Damian Priest now being the new number one contenders to the WWE tag titles. Who is obviously those titles are being currently held by the MFTs after winning that gauntlet match. I'm not gonna lie to you. Damian Priest, I hope to see him one day back in the main event picture. Obviously, we see him now tag with R-Truth. Look, they're a good good tag team. Don't get me wrong; they're very entertaining. R-Truth, veteran, legend of the game. You cannot beat R-Truth. I cannot wait for the day that we see R-Truth and Danhausen the same backstage segment. I'm very much looking forward to that day. But wow, Damian Priest, once former world champion. And I was listening to a podcast. I can't remember. I think it was this past week, but Damian Priest, he's got a lot of talent. I really do respect the work ethic of Damian Priest. I watched his documentary on Peacock, the way that his come up was, and I really love the fact that he was world champion. He cashed in his money in the bank, got his world title, his WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 40. I hope to see him back in that main event picture. But right now, I honestly feel like Damian Priest, ever since he moved to SmackDown, it's been a bit lackluster. I feel like you can kind of see the movement of the creative team trying to figure out where to place Damian Priest. Obviously, we've seen him most recently a lot with the backstage segments. He was kind of, obviously he had that feud with Aleister Black, back and forth and whatnot. But very interesting to see Damian Priest, R-Truth. Obviously, the history with Judgment Day back a couple years ago. Entertaining nonetheless. But Matt, thoughts?
It's a great match, gauntlet match. And it's good to see R-Truth back in the ring, doing his thing. We always see him backstage. Occasionally does, some in-ring matches. Thing with Damian Priest, though, is I'm a fan. Like you said, former world heavyweight champion winner, former Money in the Bank cash-in winner. I kind of agree with you. I don't really know much what to do right now except keep him in that mid-card section, except maybe going into WrestleMania. There's really not much you could do, right? Everything, the eyes and the attention are on everything else. but I hope he gets a push. You know, we haven't really seen much of him. The Aleister Black thing was great, but it dragged on. It went on too long. I mean, their feud went what, almost 3 months, and it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then it ended in the ambulance match. So, I mean, I think with the tag titles, maybe that just makes it irrelevant. Him and R-Truth have good chemistry together. They're really good friends. We know they're good friends outside the show. R-Truth got him to break on camera when he talked about how old he was, and he's like, "You're 20 years older than me." I mean, it was just funny, right? That was back during the Judgment Day days. So I hope he gets a push. I don't think anything's going to happen until after WrestleMania, and maybe they'll win the tag titles. Maybe, and then there's the push he needs.
Honestly, I think at this point they should just unify the tag titles.
I agree with that.
I feel like there's just a lot of titles to keep track of. I mean, if you just have one unified tag team, or sorry, not tag team, one unified tag titles, uh, just one set, perfect. And then that obviously that team can go back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. And here's the thing, with the tag division, especially on SmackDown, you've got a lot of talented tag teams. You got MFTs, obviously Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, former God over in New Japan,
Yep.
Girls of Destruction, talented. Obviously we saw Motor City Machine Guns in that gauntlet match. They were the first tag team to come out pretty much no pop. And mind you, Motor City Machine Guns is one of the most prominent tag teams in the history of TNA. And when they first debuted, obviously in WWE, I was hyped for them because I'm like, finally, we get to see them. They obviously won the tag titles pretty much straightforward as soon as they debuted. And there was a big pop there when they first won it from actually, was at first was Solo's Bloodline. But yeah, it was like my first time. It was the first time we've seen Motor City Machine Guns in a while as well. And I feel like the tag division, I feel like it just needs a little bit, more attention. Obviously, we've got a 3-hour show to do that. And honestly, I would love to see more of the tag teams involved. Like I've been kind of vouching for the last couple of weeks. I would really like to see like a ladder match of some sort involved with the tag teams, really, instead of just putting one set of tag teams up against each other, like let's get multiple teams involved. Let's get some ladders. Let's get some weapons. Like let's get something
Yeah.
involved. Let's make it interesting.
You know what I'm going to say about the tag titles? I 100% agree with you. Unifying them and making, the champions go between both shows, that'd be cool. But here's the thing with the tag titles, especially on SmackDown, that was the hottest thing coming out of WrestleMania last year. And I think when the Street Profits, when that kind of went away and we didn't have the Street Profits anymore and nobody has seen them on TV for a very long time. I mean, Bianca Belair's out, Montez Ford, they're married. I don't know any of the stuff behind the scenes of what's going on. But when the Street Profits went away, then the Wyatt Six won the belts. Then we just saw the Wyatt Six going back and forth with Solo and his group. That's all we've seen. And that's now going on, I want to say, good 3 or 4 months as well, right? And it's just been back and forth, back and forth. So maybe we'll get something with the tag titles at WrestleMania. That would be cool. I agree with you. Ladder match. Tonight's gauntlet match was okay. I mean, it was for the people of Portland. I'm sure it satisfied them. I enjoyed watching it. I saw the highlights of it. So, but I agree with you. Let's unify them. Let's maybe do that after WrestleMania, or maybe let's unify them at WrestleMania. What happens with the Usos and the Vision? We just talked about it. If that even goes forward, we don't even know. So let's see.
I agree. Let's see. Like I said, there's just way too many tag teams out there that are way too talented, that have come from different companies that were prominent on those companies as well. And I just hate to see them rot away and put on the shelf and not get a lot of attention like the rest of the roster is. And so hopefully we see a turnaround here soon. But moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley during their segment. And as you may know, and maybe a lot of people as well, their online beef has been very public as of lately. Some jabs thrown at each other through social media. And I was looking forward to this segment because of how they were probably going to make it up and set it up for WrestleMania 42. Like I said before, I've got Rhea Ripley winning this match. I think Jade and Rhea, two of your biggest powerhouse female superstars, going up against each other at the biggest stage of them all. I am very much looking forward to this match. I can see this being definitely night two, but also possibility of night one. But Matt, what were your thoughts on this segment between Jade and Rhea?
It was good. Once again, the drama of the storytelling, really good. How they took turns going back and forth at each other. You're absolutely right. They have been having beef back and forth on social media. And like I've said this before too, in today's world, the story is told on social media. You know, in this time that we're in, the characters tell their story, not just in the ring, not just with the action of the match in the ring, but they tell it on their Instagram. They tell it on their Twitter feed. They tell it on their postings on social media, on their TikToks and stuff like that, which is really cool. And those two ladies have been going back and forth. I have Rhea winning too and beating Jay at WrestleMania. And I know sometime in the future we'll do WrestleMania picks and stuff like that. But I agree with you. I have Rhea beating her, but I have her beating her at the expense of Io Sky. You know, we know on Monday Night Raw live in Seattle, Washington, Adam Pearce made a match where he put 4 or 5 of these women in a number one contenders gauntlet match to see who's going to face for the Intercontinental title. Okay. And Io's in that match. You know, she's part of that setup. And I don't think Io's going to win it. And I think Io's going to have Io too much friendship there. That's not that I'm liking. I think they're going to split. And I think Io's going to have something to say about her. And we'll see what happens. Didn't you see the little thing on Raw? They were too much happiness. No.
Well, I think Rhea's gonna be separate from Raw for a minute. Obviously, to build up that match between her and Jade. I think more so Io is gonna be involved in the storyline between Kyrie, Asuka, and obviously the Kabuki Warriors. That she was obviously a part of at one point, but obviously Kyrie, and maybe this is gonna be an ongoing segment between Kyrie and Asuka. I could definitely see something happen though between Asuka and Kyrie. But it's going to be interesting to see where Io lands, because obviously she's no longer with Rhea as the tag champions. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see where she lands. Honestly, it's kind of an awkward split, but I understand why they did it, because they wanted Rhea to win the chamber and therefore holding the tag titles and then possibly having to defend them within the same weekend. You don't want to overcomplicate that. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I don't know where to go from this, honestly. Where do you put Io? I mean, Io's too good to just be left off of the WrestleMania card. That's the thing.
Well, she's in a gauntlet match for the number one contendership this Monday night in Seattle. And whoever wins that match faces AJ Lee for the Intercontinental Championship, right? And AJ Lee's throwing out the challenge. I don't care who's back there. I'm going to be a fighting champion like my husband. That's what she said on Raw. And then Adam Pearce made the match with all those women. Whoever wins the elimination gauntlet match on Raw will face AJ Lee for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I don't know if that's going to be faced at WrestleMania or faced on a Monday Night Raw, but AJ Lee did say, the next time you see me in this ring, I will be defending the Intercontinental title. So maybe it is at WrestleMania. Maybe whoever wins this match on Raw with these ladies goes on to WrestleMania to face AJ for the Intercontinental title. But what I was saying about Io and Rhea, that was just too much friendship to me, to where one of them might not have a good feeling about it. And I've been wanting to see a heel Io, and I would love to see that. And she said, go to SmackDown and win it. I'm going to go to SmackDown and I'm going to win the championship for Io. That's what Rhea said. What if Io's the one that has her not win it? We'll see.
We will definitely see. I would love to see Rhea and Io go at it again, and Rhea eventually get her first career win against Io Sky. I think that's bound to happen at some point. I think that's more so maybe a SummerSlam match later this year. So we'll definitely see with that, and I can't wait to see what happens and what unfolds between Jade and Rhea upcoming for WrestleMania 42.
And remember this, brother, in pro wrestling, the biggest shocks are when best friends turn on best friends.
That is
Because
100% correct.
in the
Absolutely.
In the words of the Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, and I said it last week, desperate men do desperate things. In this incident, desperate women will do desperate things.
Absolutely. So, next, last but not least, the big one. And that was Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. And what a match this was. We had a few shenanigans happen and take place during this match. We had two referees. Well, not two referees. We had two referees involved, right? First one obviously being Charles Robinson. Little misstep from Cody Rhodes himself. Drew McIntyre placing Charles Robinson in the way of what it looked like probably the Cody cutter, I believe. Uh, Charles Robinson gets taken out. You know, we see them go back and forth in the ring. Cody hits the crossroads. No 1, 2, 3. Referee Dan Engler comes out, attempts to help, obviously assist with the match, and then he gets taken out by Drew McIntyre. Eventually, we see Cody come out victorious in this match with the involvement of Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu obviously prevents Drew McIntyre hitting Cody Rhodes with that chair. And obviously, in the end, we see Cody come out victorious against Randy Orton. And I want to say this, right, before I hand it off to you, right? I was looking back and, listening to our previous episode, and you said in this match between Cody and Randy, and we had already predicted it, right? We already knew this is going to be Cody versus Randy. There needs to be a heel. And I remember me saying it's going to be hard to determine who's going to be the heel. I think no matter what, you're going to be cheered, right? But I agree with you. And I want to say this because I didn't want to make it to seem like that I was disagreeing with you. I agree with you 100%. There needs to be a heel because in this storyline and in this history with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, you need to have somebody as that bad guy, right? You need to have somebody there. And I think it would be gnarly to see Cody go heel. I definitely would not mind Randy Orton going full heel. But I also want to mention this as well. Sami Zayn, okay? We've seen him in some of these backstage segments, obviously more with Cody, and we saw him also with Randy as well. I'm very curious what role Sami plays a part in. And here's the thing. I don't know if you saw the segment that Randy had with Sami tonight, right? Sami was asking Randy, hey, how do you do it, man? How are you just able to RKO your best friend after all that you've been through and whatnot? Randy tells him specifically, sometimes you need to be selfish, right? And then Sami's like, well, doesn't that make you a bad person? Randy goes, I don't know, but it does. It's made me a 14-time world champion.
That's right.
So, first and foremost, one question. I'm going to take it one step at a time, right? What are your thoughts on the Cody and now Randy WrestleMania event? Obviously, Cody defeating Drew McIntyre. And what role, after you answer that question, what role is Sami Zayn playing a part in? And do you see him getting involved in that WrestleMania match between Cody versus Randy and costing maybe Cody that championship? And who goes heel? Because I'm very curious. It's going to be very hard to determine. We're going to see obviously the next couple of weeks. Next week, we're seeing that contract signing between Randy and Cody in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm going to be there. So can't wait for that. But I'm going to just hand over the baton to you. What are your thoughts on all of that?
I say it all the time, lot to digest there, my brother, but I will start it and take it at the top. Match was great. I think a lot of people in Portland tonight was 60-40, and I think a lot of them didn't want to see Cody win. But now that we got Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, and Cody's our new undisputed WWE champion, you're absolutely right. We need a heel. And I said that last week too. You could not have this match as two baby faces. I'm going to relate it to this, to people in our audience that are Star Wars fans. We waited years and years to see Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker, right? My little Padawan learner, he trained him. in the lava. If you ever seen Revenge of the Sith, and Obi-Wan tells Anakin, I loved you, Anakin. You were my brother. And he goes, I hated you. I see that. Cody is Randy's little Padawan learner. He trained him, brought him up. Cody was Randy Orton and John Cena's driver. Now, Cody's quarterback one, QB1. He's a 3-time WWE champion. And Orton told Sammy tonight, that's how I won 14 titles. I think Cody goes heel. And I want that. They have to pull the trigger now. Okay? Orton going in as the villain makes no sense to me. He's the Obi-Wan. He's the Obi-Wan. He's the Jedi Knight. You can't have 2 Jedi Knights going at it at WrestleMania. One of them's got to be the Sith Lord. And I think it's Cody. It has to be Cody. And I'm using this analogy because that's what I see. I see the Padawan learner. I see the young Anakin that Obi-Wan trained, that turned his back and went to the dark side, became Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan is crushed. But Obi-Wan will do anything he can for the galaxy, right? To restore peace to the galaxy. That's Orton. The story makes sense. If Orton went heel and they kept Cody as the good guy, I don't think the fans are going to react to it. But if Cody goes bad and Cody goes heel and he becomes the Darth Vader of the story, not only is the shock heard around the world, like John Cena going heel, but it also puts us on a totally different path. How does Randy go after somebody that he trained, that was his Padawan learner, that now is Darth Vader, that betrayed him, that hurt him, that cut him? It was his brother that he loved, and deep down, he really hated him. I look forward to Phoenix next week on SmackDown to see what happens at that contract signing, to see where it goes. But Cody's got to do something heelish. You know, he's got to step out of that. I think he's the Darth Vader in the story. I still think he's responsible for taking out Jacob Fatu. I think he played a big role in that. And with Drew McIntyre, that crowd in Portland tonight sounded kind of pro-Drew. Didn't you hear something more pro-Drew? I think they wanted that. But now that we got this, how do we twist it now? We can't just have 2 good guys, 2 Jedis going at it at WrestleMania. No, we need a heel. They need a bad guy, or the story will be dull. And it can't be just a regular wrestling match if that's the case. It's got to be something else. And like I said last week, if we end up getting Cody and Drew before Elimination Chamber, I said this, then it had to be an interesting match. It had to be a Hell in the Cell. It had to be something else. Because then it would be boring. But now that we got this, and Cody's now a 3-time WWE champion, Orton's a 14-time champion, I think Cody Rhodes is the Darth Vader in the storyline. And how Sammy fits in, I don't know. I don't think you have to play Sammy in there at WrestleMania. I think Sammy's just going to be the floater in the background to piss him off. He pisses off Cody, pisses off Orton, and that's it. You know, he's just the guy dropping the seeds of doubt.
Honestly, I hope Sammy goes heel. I'm sticking tired of, like I said, Randy was telling him, oh, I don't think you believe in yourself. And here's the thing. I hate the underdog gimmick that Sammy has. I understand some people are like, oh, that's just his. No, man, I'm sick and tired of it, man. And him being so depressed because I lost my chance to win the WWE championship from Drew McIntyre. Like, no, come on, let's be real here, man. Let's pick it up. Let's do something different. Let's do something completely the opposite of what Sami Zayn is, right? We just need a whole new refreshing gimmick, I think, from him. And to go off of, to piggyback what you were saying about Cody, I 100% agree. I think it's got to be him. I mean, if you're going to turn him heel, you do it now.
Yes.
Randy is that veteran trying to get number 15. And you want to really have some heat as a heel or have a really big bombshell to really make WrestleMania a worthy event. Make Cody heel. I think the fans have been asking for it. And I know that WWE loves to go off of merch sales and all this and that, right? I think he would sell the same, if not more, if he was a heel. right? Let's see him dye his hair black. Let's see, instead of the red, white, and blue that he usually wears, let's see black, nothing, black and white. Just complete heel. Let's see a complete change in Cody's character. You know, Randy, I would love to see heel as well if that were to change. We know how good he is as a heel, right? But I think he's in a stage in his career now where he's gonna be over. He's gonna be that veteran that everybody's like, we love Randy. Randy, no matter what, even if he was a heel, we're still gonna cheer him on, you know? And so I think the trigger should be pulled for Cody to be heel. And I really hope that happens next week in Phoenix, because I'm gonna be there live for that contract signing.
That's
I have a
awesome.
feeling maybe they'll sign the contract, right? They'll sign the contract and then they'll go maybe talk about their history together and all that. And maybe you see Cody low blow him. Maybe you see Cody crossroad him right after the contract signing on the table, nonetheless, you know? Um, so yeah, that's my prediction with that. And the last topic that I want to talk about now, before we forget about it completely, because obviously I think this is going to be a match, but Drew and Jacob, is it more likely? Do you see Cody, sorry, not Cody, but Drew and Jacob Fatu for WrestleMania 42?
I think so. Now, what else do we do with them? Right? You can't tie them all into the Cody Randy thing. There's just no way to do it. And Randy Orton, to kind of piggyback off what you just said, brother, Randy Orton is, yeah, could he be heel? Of course. Is he one of the best to ever do it? Yes. But Randy is chasing the title. He's chasing number 15. It wouldn't make sense to pull the trigger and have him turn on Cody or be a bad guy to Cody Rhodes. No. Randy is exactly what Sammy said, what he told Sammy. I'm going to do what I have to do to get 15. And I'm going to do what I have to do to get 16 and get 17 and gradually get 18 to, like in my prediction, induct John Cena and shake his hand. That's where I think that's going to go. You want the spark? It's Cody. It's Cody. And the only way you could tie in Jacob and Drew, to answer your question, is if Cody was the one that took out Jacob. And maybe Drew gets the footage. Maybe Drew has the footage of Cody doing it. Maybe it's announced in Phoenix when you're there live next week, brother. And Drew comes out pissed off what happened and says, well, take a look at this. Look at your hero. And everybody's fooled. And Orton staring at the Titantron, seeing the video and just going, what? And then that's when Cody pulls the trigger on Orton. I mean, there's so much you could do with this. It cannot be a regular wrestling match. It cannot be two good guys versus two good guys. If that's the case, Punk and Roman's match makes no sense because those guys are going in as two baby faces. Who do we cheer for? Who do we cheer for? It's Austin Rock. Austin Rock. Who do we cheer for? You can't have that with Orton and Cody. One of them's got to be the guy we boo. And it has to be Cody. It has to be. He's the Darth Vader. He's the Padawan learner that's going to turn on Obi-Wan. He's going to rip Obi-Wan's heart out and tell him, I hate you. I hated you. It's got to be Cody. He's the guy that's going to do it. And I look forward to Phoenix, bro. It's going to be good. Must-see television every week.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see this in person, what unfolds. We're getting closer to WrestleMania. A lot of things, man, a lot of things that are going to happen, and hopefully it's good. Like I said, I really want a better WrestleMania than last year. That's always the goal, right? To
Yes,
top
sir.
off the one that happened previously, right? And I think we deserve, as fans, we deserve some sort of consolation because of the fact that, well, one, we didn't see The Rock, right? A lot of people were expecting The Rock to appear back at WrestleMania 41. Hopefully, maybe we get it. Maybe WrestleMania 42. We'll see him get involved maybe with that Punk and Roman. Even then, I think they also need to redeem the whole John Cena heel turn. Maybe you redeem that with the constellation of Cody Rhodes heel turn, and maybe then learning off of your mistakes. And instead of waiting, that long of a time to turn him heel, you just do it when the time is right. And right now, I think the time is right to have Cody be heel, to really have some heat on that match.
Yes.
Right? That's the main event of night one, without a doubt. Right? I think without a doubt, it's going to be Punk Roman for night two. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yes. No.
So, with that being said, I'm hoping for something really good come next week. Um, Obviously, we have a lot of things that are happening. I know next week, obviously, like you said, for Raw, just as a preview, we have that gauntlet match coming up for the number one contender for the IC women's IC title. And then on top of that, too, Obafemi versus Rusev. That's going to be a
Yes.
very hard hitting match. We have still yet to see. I believe, is Brock Lesnar supposed to be making an appearance next Monday? I believe, or
No,
no?
no, sir. Raw's live in
Okay,
Seattle, and Brock
that's right.
Lesnar and Roman are not scheduled to be there. They will be there the following Monday night, which is in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, yeah. So, obviously, we have yet to find out who could possibly be Brock Lesnar's mystery opponent. Obviously, he opened up that open challenge for WrestleMania. Hopefully, it's somebody good. A lot of people are rooting for Obafemi, but who knows? It could also be, like you said, it could be Gunther coming out. And where do you put Gunther? Which, by the way, Gunther versus Dragon Lee, going back to this past Monday, great freaking match. Loved it. The way that it all unfolded was just chef's kiss. That's how
It's good.
professional wrestling is. It was good. And then obviously next week, next SmackDown, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton contract signing. And on top of that, too, your favorite Jelly Roll will be appearing. I don't know if you saw that. Jelly Roll is going to be appearing. Who knows? Maybe Jelly Roll is going to be next to Randy's side. We saw.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. God.
So we have Jelly Roll
Yeah.
appearing. I think it's going to be some sort of involvement. Who knows? But he might get a match at WrestleMania 42. So
Oh
I don't
my!
know.
He better not. He would just look for all you Jelly. I don't need the tweets and the comments for all you Jelly Roll followers out there. My wife absolutely loves Jelly Roll too as an artist. If Jelly Roll gets involved in this main event, guys, no, let him do something else. Let him sing the national anthem or something.
For all of our followers, Matt's favorite person in this world is Jelly Roll. I got him a Jelly Roll shirt.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
When
Thank
I went
you.
out there first, you need to wear that shirt next episode, just so you can show everybody how big of a fan you are. But when I saw that, I'm like, no way, are you serious? So we'll see what role he plays. I'm sure it's gonna be some sort of involvement, and who knows, maybe Jelly Roll versus Bad Bunny. I'd like to see that. Have a celebrity match in there. So
Jelly Roll wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Oh Lord, oh gosh,
Yeah.
we'll see about that, right? But nonetheless, thank you guys for watching for episode 10, Ringside Rewind Podcast. Thank you guys for helping us grow our channels, whether that's Facebook, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, obviously YouTube. We're growing each and every week. Every time we post, we appreciate you guys being there, supporting and engaging with us every time we put something out there, whether that's a clip or a whole episode. You guys are there for us. You guys engage with us, and we love it. We love the support that you guys give us, and we can't wait to give you guys more wrestling content as we head into WrestleMania 42, and we'll be there in Vegas, filming as much as we can. We've got a awesome week ahead of us during that WrestleMania week. A lot of content that is pro wrestling related, so we can't wait.
With that being said, guys, thank you for joining us for episode 10. Andre, it's always a pleasure to be with us. Next week, live in Phoenix, you're going to be there. So you'll be able to come on and tell us a little bit about it. Let us know how the crowd is there. Let us know the reaction for what we hope will come with Cody Rhodes. And we do this because we love pro wrestling. We thank you for the support, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Absolutely. Thank you guys again for tapping in episode 10, and we will see you guys next week for episode 11.
Bye, guys.